We've got a good series to start us off in the new year, and today we're going to look at a story that is one that's always captured my imagination. It comes from the book of Mark, chapter 10, verse 46 and following. Here's what it says. And they came to Jericho, and as he was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a great crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind beggar, the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. Great story here. 4 big ideas for us today. First one is this. People who change want change. People who change want change. If 2013 was any different for you than 2012, and it was different because you instigated change, not because change happened to you, you got laid off, you got right-sized, you had a unfortunate medical condition coming. I mean, all of us have to deal with change. It's a matter of whether or not it's only the change that is forced on us or it's the change that we instigate. If you instigated any change in your life in and of your own free will, it's because you have a value for change itself. And if you don't value change, guess what? You haven't instigated any change in your life at all. God wants people who want change. God wants people who want change. Jesus could have invited any number of people over. He could have invited over the person who was the best dressed. He could have invited over the person who had the highest ranking position. The best dressed people and the people who had the highest ranking position weren't expressing any desire to change. They weren't expressing any desire to do something different in their life. This is the one guy who says, I want to change. I want something different in my life, because this is the way it works for God. So I'm just telling you, if you and I don't embrace new things, if you and I aren't up for eliminating things in our life that require change, if you and I aren't up for adding things to our life that require change, God doesn't really want to be around us. He's not going to be around us. Now, you got to understand the context of this. I'm not saying like God will leave you, forsake you, or you'll end up in a very hot place in the center of the earth. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying that if we as people are not about change, then we're never going to be the places where God is, because God is always about change. And this is why he's going to give power to blind Bartimaeus. The reason why he has to give him power, because it's difficult. I mean, how many things did you change intentionally in 2013? Probably not that many. None of us can change all that much because it's difficult. Change is very hard. Point 3, speaking what we are wanting is key to change. Speaking what we are wanting. You only changed in 2013 in the areas that you told somebody you wanted to change. We think to ourselves, well, I'm just going to have this sort of private resolution between me and God. I'm just going to say, God, I'm going to lose weight, or God, I'm going to not do this anymore. God, it's just going to be personal between me and God, or between me and myself. And guess what happens? Nothing ever happens. It just doesn't. I promise you. You do your own internal analysis. You've only changed when you've intentionally on your own, you've told somebody, you've declared that you want to change. There's a power here to when blind Bartimaeus says, I want to receive my sight. I don't know why this is. Maybe there is some connection between, in the spiritual realm, between words and physical actions. Maybe it's good old simple accountability. Do we tell somebody, yeah, I want to do X, and we realize, oh man, next time I see them, they're going to ask me maybe. And all of a sudden, we've got a level of accountability that drives it or does it. I'm telling you right now. If you want to do any change in 2014 and you think you're going to keep it private, you are not going to change jack in 2014. Final biggest thought today, final 4. People who change, work change. People who change, work change. They don't just have it once, it keeps going. Now let's take a look at what happens with blind Bart here. He gets his sight. He says, I want my sight. Jesus says, good, done for you. And then look what happens again. Let's revisit it. It says this. And immediately he recovered his sight and followed him on the way. The key word here is, and followed him on the way. I think it's interesting. What would you do if you had never seen before and now you've recovered your sight, which, by the way, tells us he's not always been blind? What would you be like all of a sudden? Now you can see for the first time in who knows how long. What would you do? I mean, he could have went, I could see. Now I want to go check out that new strip club people have been talking about because I'm curious what goes in. He could have done that. Now what does he do? He goes, I want more change. And he followed Jesus on his way. It's not like, I got change. Good, let's get back to what I was doing before. No, it's that thing of momentum. I got change, and he followed him on his way. He stayed there because likely he wanted more change. He wanted more presence of God. God wants to take people who are all about defending their views and defending their ideas to seeing and learning new ideas. He wants that change. He wants to take people who only are about themselves and their own resources and everything should buttress my kingdom too. I want to bless and build into other people in the kingdom. He wants to take us from doing the same old, day in, day out to actually having an adventure.